What can I do to make that fit? Ha! So I tried a few different ways of mounting the tension rod, and each one of them was just a bummer. I essentially just took the tension rod, cut it, grinded the edges a bit, slipped this plate right over, did a nice little bead right over the top, nice little bead right over the bottom, and then weld this onto a bracket that would essentially come through this way. Bracket would mount onto there, and then the tension rods would mount off of that bracket. But I ran into one really annoying problem. So the tension rod on those things like to sit slightly more offset around right there. So not only will this not meet up with this, it would cause the rose joint to just have a bunch of tension on it at all times. And not only that, but the sway bar mounts right there. So I guess I gotta say bye-bye to my sway bar, or at least to where it originally mounts, figure out something else entirely for it, and then cut apart my other tension rod bracket. Let's get started. So right now I'm trying to mock up exactly where the mounting point for the tension rod is gonna go up against the new bracket. Can't really see too much. It's basically gonna go mounted up against there, straight to the tension rod bracket. I'm gonna make sure to add another steel plate and some gussets to reinforce it, just to make sure the tension rod bracket's gonna be able to hold the new tension rod, especially since I just took off a shit ton of steel from it. Let's get to cutting and let's get to welding. So right now I have the first plate already figured out and cut. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the bracket a little bit and start welding it together. Now that I got it fully tacked into place, I'm gonna go ahead and run a bead all the way throughout, also on this little bottom portion, which I'm later gonna cut and grind a little bit. Time to keep welding. Alright, so I managed to get the plate fully welded onto the tension rod bracket. Now I just need to go take a few more measurements and make sure that the bracket's gonna sit right where I want it to sit, and time to keep welding. So I took a few measurements under the car and I was able to actually mark exactly where I want the bracket to sit. You guys can't really see it, but it's in a yellow paint pen. I'm gonna go ahead and tack weld that into place, do one more fitting, and then after that, we're gonna call it a go. Run a bead all the way through. I'm officially gonna have S13 tension rods on my car. So here's both tension rod brackets fully finished up. Now I just gotta sand them and prep them up for a little bit of paint. Then I'm gonna throw them on. Gotta clean my face a little bit, and I'm gonna tighten up the brake lines. I gotta bleed the brakes, then I'll be able to take the car for a test drive. Don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that today. If I do have a little bit of time, I'm gonna go ahead and try to take the car up and down the street, but as of right now, I don't even know if it'll start. I'm gonna go inside and clean up. I got both tension rods ready for paint. I'm gonna go ahead and just do a quick pass of that flat black, throw them on, then throw the tension rods on. Finally got them painted up. Now I just have to throw them back on the car, throw some bolts through the tension rods, and I can finally call it a day on that. I for sure have to next week pull the rear end off the Celica. I measured the front track that I have and it's 63 inches, and And the IRS and the LS400 is gonna be exactly 62. So what better to go with the 1UZ than the rear end that came in the car. The part that's gonna suck a lot of ass is this thing's a straight axle rear, which means I'm gonna have to cut out parts of the frame, figure out the mounting point, and make sure I get everything measured up and nice and straight. Luckily, I just finished watching an episode of Jimmy O and I saw them doing that on the Civic, so I feel like I can do it myself. This is probably gonna be one of the hardest parts on this whole entire swap. Once I get the IRS figured out, it's definitely gonna be basically chasing electrical, making sure my fuel and everything else is all good to go. I'm gonna be pulling the 22RE within the next week or so. I just gotta get the Collins adapter kit, mount it onto the 1UZ, make sure I get all of my electronics figured out, throw that thing in. I think I'm gonna be going with the Link ECU. I found a really good deal for a Link ECU with wiring harness, and I think it was $1,700 total. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the trigger on that because that's a deal I can't refuse. All right, so I got both tension rod brackets on. Can't really see the passenger side one too much, so I got a light. Now I gotta take the passenger side fender off so that way I can mount 2 wheels that I have. Make sure I get the brakes bled and double check everything and go for a little test drive just to see how it feels. Then as soon as I'm done, I gotta park this thing one more time. I gotta pull the 22RE out and I gotta pull the rear end off. And I'm not looking forward to it, but at the same time I am. So anyways, this is gonna be a short one. Again, not a lot of content, but I'm still waiting on a few other pieces so that way I can keep this car going. I will be making a video on my E36. I might do some more content on the 81 Toyota Tercel. This thing's been sitting for way too long and I think I could finally get it going. Thank you guys for checking out this video, and again, this was IO Garage.